On behalf of the Hertfordshire Interfaith Forum and the Diversity, Inclusion and Wellbeing team of Hertfordshire County Council, welcome to you all. This is Interfaith Week 2025. This webinar is titled Faith Through Young Eyes, Youth Voices in Interfaith Dialogue. Well, I think we're in for a treat. The panel of 12 young speakers will speak about what their faith means to them, how they engage with their faith, and what interfaith dialogue and collaboration means to them. I'm sure it will be a very interesting and thought-provoking and will provide better understanding, communication, friendship, and respect between us all and the faiths. I will now pass over to Temi, who will set the scene.
Thank you very much, Ryan, and good evening, everyone. Yes, my name is Temi Farimi. I'm Head of Diversity and Inclusion and Wellbeing at Hertfordshire County Council. And it is really important that we have this discussion around interfaith dialogue. It's particularly important to me because I think that we have to be proud of our identity. One of the things I'm really keen about young people, and I say young, we have a group that I run that's called the 20 to 30 somethings. You're in a very influential position, not just in Hertfordshire, but globally. And it's really important that you understand that you need to be able to say, I'm proud to be me. You need to be able to say that I am presenting my identity. And your identity involves a faith, and also that you are protecting your history. Most of the faith that we're going to discuss tonight have a very deep history. And it's really important because when you look at the world itself, I think we were just designed to have this mix, because diversity, and obviously that's in my title, but it is really important. And I remember there was an American president way back before segregation who had said that God created oceans to keep people apart. But actually, that can't possibly be the case, because we have managed to span the globe and to have this beautiful diversity that I often compare to a piano. A piano has black keys, white keys, short keys, thin keys. It's got long keys and short keys, and that's how it makes music. And a piano that was all black or all white or didn't have the right keys would not make beautiful music. And we have diversity and interfaith, and that's why it's really important. It's very important to me, particularly because I have a faith myself, and I've coined, in terms of my belief and what faith is faith in action. It means we're doing something, not just having a faith. And for all of you that are here tonight, I'm hoping that you're going to explain your perspective of faith. To me, I use faith as an acronym: followers, acknowledging, instructions, to help. So you're all going to talk about various ways that your faith may help you, the way it helps your family, the way it helps your neighborhood, the community. It has global influence. But I'm just going to leave you with this statement I hope that you'll remember. And because you're young people, I won't say just because you're young people, because I want you to remember that your age does not have a barrier. Katie Levitt is one of the youngest press secretaries ever. She was 27 when she became the press secretary to Donald Trump. And you all probably have had KFC, or you know of KFC. The Colonel was 60 when he started that business. So your age is not a barrier to you. In fact, if anything, it's the biggest benefit that you've got. But one of the things I know that young people really value, maybe not as much as your faith, but very important, is Wi-Fi. And I just want you to remember that when you're speaking tonight, that you're going to connect with other people. Faith is like Wi-Fi. You can't see it, but it keeps you connected. Without it, life feels like trying to stream your favorite show with no signal. It's frustrating and it's full of buffering. And right now, with all the things that are going on, flags, faith, all that, sometimes we feel like we're buffering. Faith gives us strength when life glitches, and we know what it's like when you get a glitch. Hope when things lag, and it reminds us that even when we can't see the full picture, there's a bigger network at work. So keep your spiritual connection strong. Let's hear about it tonight, because unlike Wi-Fi, I'm sure you've got connections that will never drop out. So we want to hear about them tonight. So thank you. And now I'm going to hand over to Jalil, and he'll take us through to the next section. And sorry, just a moment. So Jalil is deeply engaged in Jain philosophy and community life through Srimad Rajankara Mission, Rampur, UK, SRMD UK, where he actively supports spiritual and service initiatives. His commitment to interfaith dialogue stems from desire to foster compassion and understanding across communities. Alongside his spiritual work, Jainil is a senior risk executive at BNP Paribas Asset Management and a graduate at University College London, UCL. He's bringing both professional insight and cultural awareness to his role as chair for tonight's webinar. So, Jainil, over to you.
Thank you so much, Temi. I was wondering who's going to read my introduction if I'm chairing, but thank you. Hi everyone, and thanks to all of you who've just joined as well. My name's Jainil Shah, as Temi said, and I'll be your chair for today's session. It's great to see you all here for this event. Obviously, we have such a great group of young speakers from different faith backgrounds, and we're really keen to hear everyone's story and perspective on what their faith means to them, how they live it day to day, and as Tim was saying, faith in action. That's what we're trying to get the information on tonight, I guess. And the goal today is simple: just to listen, to learn, to appreciate, I guess, all the diversity of experiences that we have here, and that shape how we see faith and the world around us as well. So just to explain a bit about the format, so each speaker will have about 3 to 5 minutes to share their reflections, and then after that we will open up for a short Q&A or open conversation. So feel free, if you do have questions, please drop them in the chat. Don't just yell out, please, or you can raise your hand if you'd like to participate at that point. And just please remember, I did remind the group of speakers just before this, but this is a space for respect and genuine conversation. So we are here to discover and not debate. So please keep things respectful. And so with that, I will hand over to our first speaker, Maggie Mage from Catholic Faith. She's a practicing Catholic who values the role of faith in shaping personal and community life. She's committed to promoting kindness and empathy through interfaith engagement and enjoys exploring how shared values can unite people across traditions. So over to you, Maggie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to represent Catholics for the Interfaith Young People's Meeting. I suppose you want me to crack straight on with the first question, or would you like an introduction first, apart from what we already have on the screen?
However you wish, honestly.
Okay, just for everybody who doesn't know me, which will be everybody here probably. My name is Maggie. I'm 21 years old, and I am actually a recent convert to Catholicism. So I grew up in a Christian family, non-practicing Christian family, but I did know about Christianity. And so once I moved here to England and I got exposed, let's just say, to Catholicism specifically, I very soon fell in love with it, and the Bible and everything that I had known about Christianity suddenly began to make sense, even though it was very different for me to discover what Christianity actually means, what biblical Christianity specifically means, was very different from what I had made up in my own head, sort of. So it's been a steep learning curve these past 2 years that I have been officially Catholic. I've been keeping on learning, but I've not just about my own faith, but also about other faiths. So I'm very interested in listening to how other people see the world and how other people live their spiritual lives as well, because it helps me understand where they're coming from when we have discussions, and it also helps me understand why people think the way that they think, and also why we have the sorts of issues in today's world that we have. So as I said, it's an honor to be here and speak to all of you and listen to all of you as well as we explore how our faith lead us in life. Would you like me to go into the first question that we had on the agenda?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the first question that we have for the meeting today was what my faith means to me. And I just really like how simple that question is, because I don't need to interpret how anybody else might think about this, because the question is specifically what it means to me. And I think most of all, it is an identity. So it's more than just a philosophy. My faith is more than a code to live by, a set of laws to live by, but it is an identity. I know now who I am. I know that there is not just that there is a God, but that the God that I believe in and the God that I believe exists objectively specifically has an interest in me, and that I am his daughter. And that just makes such a huge difference, because now I know that whatever life will ever throw at me, or whatever situation I may find myself in, that I will always be loved, and loved infinitely. And the fact that something so great, or somebody so great as God, takes the trouble to not only create me, but to know me, to know my name, and to specifically take an interest in what I feel, what I do, what I think, it's the greatest gift that you can possibly imagine. And so more than Christianity just being a philosophy, an ancient code of conduct that we hold to because it is in some book that we inherited, or because our parents told us to, faith to me is a way of life that flows from an identity that I have received. So I think that is what I would have to answer for that one.
That's lovely. Honestly, and you can continue as long as you manage to wrap it up in a couple of
with the
minutes.
other questions, so you want me to just do them in one go?
Yeah, however you envisage. Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, then let's move on to how I engage with my faith again. I really appreciate that the question is how I engage with my faith specifically. So we believe as Christians, especially as Catholic Christians, that we are all called to sainthood, that the goal of this life and the next life is to spend eternity with God, who is uncreated, who has been there from all eternity, is there now, and will be there from all eternity. And we believe that this God, who exists perfectly throughout all time and beyond time, is complete love. And the goal of us creatures, of us men, is to spend eternity in union with that love, with that person, specifically with those persons that love us. So how I engage with my faith in that regard is that each day I try to get a little bit closer to that union with God that I know that I'm called to, and that I know that I was made for. Because I believe that every one of us, not just the Catholics, not just the non-Catholic Christians, not just the people here, but everybody in this world, no matter who they are, no matter what their story is, have been created out of love, and for one reason only: to be loved and to love, and to spend eternity with the one who created them in love, and to be loved completely and totally by our God. So every single day I try to bring both myself closer to that union, by first of all reciprocating that love that I've received as best as I can, and also giving it out to the people that I may encounter. So that includes, which means that I not only try to conform myself to that image of perfection and that perfect love that I know that I was created from and created for, but also to be a mirror of that love to everybody else. And that my hope is that that will ultimately make the world a better place, as everybody will slowly be drawn into that union. And well, as far as the practical aspects of that goes, obviously you try to serve other people and to be what we would call today as, being a good person, as in not yell at people or forgive them when they mess up, or essentially just make things easy. But it goes deeper than just being nice. It does have a sacrificial aspect to it, which is insanely difficult to keep up with. But every time that you manage that, and manage to push through a difficult situation, you do feel the sort of victory, and you feel that you've made a step in the right direction. And as Catholics specifically, one of the other things, or how we live that love and how we can already in this world get closer to God is by praying, by worshiping God, who is truly present in our church, by receiving him in the sacrament of the Eucharist, by completely uniting ourselves to him. So obviously those practical things that we do in order to get closer and ultimately unify ourselves completely to Christ, they are practical things that we do, but we need to remember that it's the love and the union with God and the union with a personal God who knows us on a personal level is the ultimate goal. And then
Thank you, Maggie. Sorry, I'm just going to have to.
Okay, sure. Sorry.
Okay, fine. Yeah, we can save it for the Q&A. Sorry, it's only because you're the first, and I'll have to.
Yeah, sure.
Then,
I didn't have the
apologies.
time.
No, absolutely fine. But that was really beautiful, and thank you for being so open about your faith in all aspects. It was lovely to hear. So next we'll be moving on to Zuhair Jafri. To share his perspectives on the Islamic faith. So Zuhair is an active member of the Shia Muslim community and advocates for interfaith dialogue as a means to build bridges of understanding. He combines his faith with a strong interest in social justice and community service. So over to you, Zuhair, please.
Hi everyone, thanks Janelle and thanks Maggie for your bit on the Catholic faith. It was really interesting to hear. As you said, Janelle, my name is Zuhair, and I'm 23. Grew up in Hertfordshire for most of my life, but before that, I was born in Hong Kong and grew up in the US. So I've had a little bit of experience around the world, and I've got family that live around the world, and I think that's been a big influence on me, as well as my faith. And those are two things that I think have given me a lot of perspective. And it's something I wanted to talk about as well in terms of how I practice my faith, but also why interfaith dialogue is really important to me. So in terms of engaging with my faith, I think, as having grown up Muslim my whole life, it's just been normal to me. My parents taught me how to engage with my faith practically, and all of my family were Muslim as well, so I learned it from them. So it was never really a conscious decision. But as I got older and I started to use my brain a little bit more, I thought about things a little bit more. And it became more of a conscious decision. It's not an easy thing to be a practicing Muslim necessarily in this day and age. Especially growing up in a country that is not, when not everyone practices the same faith as you. People ask you questions when you, especially in school, if you're not around Muslims all day every day. But having grown up in a household where dialogue was encouraged, I think that made it a lot easier. And any pushback I had in my kind of angsty teenage years wasn't poorly received by my parents and by my family around me, and that only helped to strengthen my faith. And so I think extending that outwards towards people of other faiths and people in general is something I've become passionate about, because it allows me to reciprocate that kind of kindness I was extended. And I think if I hadn't been extended that kind of kindness, I'm not sure where I'd be today. So I feel very passionate about returning the favor and passing on the favor to others. So I think interfaith dialogue to me is really important for that, because I think if there are other people who maybe are struggling with their faith or other parts of their life, I think having those dialogues like we're doing today, I think can be really important and set a really good example. And I think in today's world that's becoming more and more polarized, I think that this kind of dialogue that starts with kindness and compassion is something that we're probably in danger of losing. So the effort that it takes for everyone to come here today and to listen to this and to speak is really encouraging. And I think that it's a really nice thing and really important. So this being a practical step to take for me and for other people, I'm really glad to be able to do.
Thank you, Zuhair. That's really lovely. I just especially love the part where you say about giving back, because there's so much that our faith has indeed given us, and it is important to recognise that part. So thank you so much for for that. And we will now move on to Dilara. Apologies if I pronounce this incorrectly. Dilara Zorabian Bailey from the Baha'i Faith. So she is passionate about principles of unity and equality and believes that interfaith collaboration is essential for creating a peaceful and inclusive society. So over to you, Dilara, and apologies once again if I got your name wrong.
No, that's all right. You pronounce it correctly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me here and for facilitating this wonderful event. I think it's a really important space for us to have. And I suppose, conscious of time, with my first question, so what does your faith mean to you? For me, my faith has always been a motivator for pretty much everything that I do. I grew up in a Baha'i family, but I feel that really I started to explore what that properly meant to me when I left home, where actually I was surrounded by people who didn't have the same beliefs as me and didn't, I suppose, maybe view the world the way that I do. And again, later, a little bit later in life, when I got married, my husband doesn't have faith at all, and I think it's really encouraged me to think hard about what my faith really does mean to me. And I suppose it really, on a very personal level, it comes down to I suppose these kind of guiding principles, but also a sense of safety and hope that I have to carry with me all the time, both for myself, for my own life, but also for the world that we live in. And I think the more and more we hear in the news things that are happening in the world, and actually my faith is very much something that I have to come back to of there's more to it than what we're all seeing, I think. So I think I don't think I actually said in my introduction, but I work in mental health services, and I'm often asked by colleagues, by friends, by anyone I meet about how I kind of manage some of the things that I deal with in my work. I deal with some very emotionally challenging situations like daily, but whenever I've thought about it, actually, it very much comes down to my belief that there is a God, and that this God loves us, and is merciful and wants the best for all of us. And my belief that we are here we're experiencing this life to help us to develop the spiritual qualities that we'll need in the next life, because I don't believe that this is the only life that we will experience, and I think that's incredibly important, particularly when I'm facing situations where people have not had the best experiences in life, in this life, but actually I've seen them overcome these challenges and become far better people than people who've experienced relatively easy lives, in terms of their kind of determination, their compassion for others, their hope, and their faith as well, actually. In terms of how I engage with my faith in today's world, it very much, like I said, it very much underpins everything that I do within my working life. But the Baha'i teachings state that work is service to God. And I really hold that in mind, particularly when it comes to larger challenges, but also even in the small things. So when I'm facing, I think quite often I hear people complaining about work, complaining about the small things that we have to deal with. And I try to remind myself, like, actually, why is it that we're doing all of these things? And it comes back to this idea of service. I think also this is incredibly important when it comes to how we interact with the world around us. Like we said, kind of actually on the news, or in a lot of conversations that we're having or hearing around us a lot of the time, it can be very easy to fall into these kind of false dichotomies of, one side or another. And my faith teaches that we need to investigate the truth for ourselves. And this is incredibly helpful for me when I'm faced with these conversations, when I'm trying to engage with these discourses that can be so challenging. And I'm not sure how I'm doing on timing, so I may pause there.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you have a couple more lines to say, please feel free.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I didn't really touch on kind of what interfaith dialogue
Go
means
ahead.
to me, but I think it's an incredibly important thing for us to have and to keep going. For me, and again in my life, I host a devotional once a month in my home where people from our local community come and we discuss various different topics on whatever theme feels appropriate or relevant at the time. But it's always a much richer conversation when people bring their own faiths, their own perspectives, and we have this like diverse conversation, as opposed to it just being everyone seeing things in one way. And actually we kind of learn from each other. Sometimes we challenge each other's perspectives, and that's always to the benefit of everyone, I think. So thank you very much.
It's really lovely. Thank you. I really enjoyed hearing about, and I'm sure this applies to most of us here, but just how our faith can act like as such an anchor, especially when there's all these first world problems that we're kind of faced with. This morning, yesterday I was grumbling about the trains, and it's rain and it's cold, and you get to work and you're already grumpy, and then you like take a step back to think about the bigger picture. So that was something I really resonated with. I'm just going to pause there for a second just to say, if anyone does have any questions or thoughts that are coming up in your mind, please feel free to post them in the chat while we're having this discussion, or just make a mental note and be sure to post them as soon as we start the Q&A. And apologies, I just realized my screen sharing had stopped. I was supposed to have this on. So our next speaker is from the Hindu faith, Cheyenne Unadkat. Hopefully your audio issues are sorted, Cheyenne. Yeah.
I think they are. If you can hear me.
Yes, great. We can hear you. Yep. So Shane is a student currently studying at University College London and a practicing ISKCON devotee. His spiritual journey began through becoming an active member of the Bhaktivedanta Mana youth group, Bandav Sena, which is a big part of his life and a pivotal way to give back to the community. Alongside his studies, Shane is a part-time movie critic and journalist who also holds a deep passion in both philosophy and politics. Over to you, Shane.
Hey everyone, really nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for the introduction, and every story and background I've heard so far has been just really amazing. It has resonated with me a lot. So today I want to share a short reflection that sort of answers all three questions in one go. It's more like a narrative kind of story on my faith, my journey, what it means to me, and how I discovered God, basically. So it started around 2 years ago, where I really, started considering that there's this possibility there might be a higher purpose, that there might be something more to this life. But before that, things were really different. I had an interest in theology and philosophy that began when I was 13. I lost someone really close to me, like very extremely close to me. And this loss obviously shook me, and it pushed me to question everything, existence, God. And I went into some sort of existential crisis. And I remember constantly asking myself, why me? Why do I have to go through this? And I spent years searching for answers and reading philosophical texts, all to find some sort of evidence. And Plato once said that evidence is something, that sticks to the mind. And that's all I wanted, basically. I wanted something to hold on to, something that could prove there was a God. But all that searching sort of made me restless. I began to overthink everything. I couldn't really sleep properly. I couldn't focus on my studies. And I thought I was searching for truth. But I think what I really needed was connection. And like you said brilliantly in the introduction, about 18 months ago, everything began to change when I randomly came across this youth community called Bandav Sena because of my friends. And, at first I was just going for fun. I wanted to enjoy with my friends. I didn't really care about the philosophy they were trying to tell me. But everyone around me during, these traditional hymns, which we call kirtan, during football, eating together, they seemed genuinely happy. And not just happy because of what was happening that day, but happy in a way that was constant. Every time I would see them at these events, they were really happy. And it was just this peaceful kind of bliss almost. And even when things went wrong, this happiness didn't leave them. It was like there's something deeper to this happiness. And I thought to myself, I want to reach this level of happiness too. And that was the beginning of my turning point. I realized I've been looking for evidence in this wrong place. I've been looking for something to convince my mind, when what I really needed was to just awaken my heart, feel love, give love. And with the help of my friends in this community, I decided to take that leap of faith. And that's when I discovered what bhakti means. Bhakti is devotional love. It's devotional love to Krishna. And I began to practice that. And the best way to describe bhakti is that bhakti draws parallels to being in love. So when you're in love with someone, they're always in your mind. Their happiness becomes your happiness. You want to serve them, you want to care for them, you want to make them smile. But at the same time, we all know that human love can be fragile. Sometimes it fades, sometimes it's very one-sided. But just imagine that same feeling, that same intensity of love, but directed to a higher being who never leaves you, and a being that never stops reciprocating. And that's my experience with bhakti. It never fades, it never stops growing, and I never stop loving Krishna. And it's the kind of love that fills every part of you and gives you purpose. And once you even taste it slightly, it changes everything. So through this, I began to study better. Not because I became smarter, I just became calmer, I stressed less, things got easier for me. And I started telling myself that, why should I worry if I have God? And I still have that mindset today. That's my launch pad to engage with faith in the community. So for the first time in years, I stopped overthinking. I felt guided, I felt peaceful. And that to me was this evidence that I was looking for. So when people ask, why do you believe in God? I feel like they're not always looking for a logical argument. And instead, it just comes from experience and your own stories. People might not care what you believe, but they care about what your belief has done to you. So I think the message I want to end this with is, regardless of your religion, you don't need to be perfect to speak about your God. You just need to be honest. I think you just need to let your life tell the story that theology can't almost, and these logical arguments cannot. And through my experience, I wholeheartedly believe that the world needs faith more than ever now, because I know firsthand what it's done for me. And the most powerful way to promote this faith in God is to show what it does. Just let the stories in your life be the evidence for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shane. That was really beautiful. And it's amazing how many of us do end up finding faith in times of grief, loss, and hardship. So that's really lovely, and you can really feel the devotion as you're speaking. So thank you for that. So our next speaker is Rebecca Green. She's from Jewish Faith. Rebecca's 21 and she's a fourth-year student of veterinary medicine at the University of Surrey. In terms of community involvement, she's an active member of her JSOC and has also been involved for a number of years in teaching young Jewish kids, or young Jewish children, Hebrew and Jewish studies. So over to you, Rebecca.
Hi, so yeah, I'm Jewish. I grew up, both my parents are Jewish, so I grew up as part of the Jewish community in Radlett, Reform Judaism. And I think the main thing that faith means to me is community. A big part of Judaism is that wherever you are, no matter how you practice, you'll be able to find a community that will support you and accept you and welcome you. And I think that's a really big part of Judaism for me. And another part that's really important for me is like the emphasis on traditions and family. Like a big part of especially the way that I practice my religion is you join together with family and friends to pray and then celebrate traditions and eat good food. And yeah, I think the Judaism has made me be able to form really meaningful connections with my family and with other friends, even people who are not Jewish. And also given me the opportunity to learn about like my family's history and the ancestry and all of that within Judaism itself. So as my introduction said, the main way that I engage with Judaism currently is through my Jewish Society at university. So I ran it for a couple of years and I now just partake, and it's a lovely little group of people. And I think the main thing is we just meet together, we have that community, they're there to support me if I need them. And there's a way for me to have a little family outside of my family at home, because I don't live at home due to uni. So when I'd normally celebrate festivals at home with my family, I've got my other family that you can find wherever you are in the country through Judaism. So yeah, and I also, as I said, I teach a lot, so I have students, and I think it's a really important thing to be able to pass on that engagement with the culture and the traditions of Judaism onto the younger generations who often don't get that engagement from anywhere else. So it's an important part for me. And then I think my main thing with interfaith collaboration, it's important for peace in the world. We all believe that there's something better, and we're all working for the same thing. And all humans are the same. And I just think if we all work together, and we have the dialogue and communication to accept our differences, but also understand the ways in which we're the same, I think that's a really important part of interfaith and something that has to be continued, just to have that peace and cooperation in the world. And yeah, so that's me.
It's lovely, Rebecca, and it's amazing that you're teaching children at your young age, you know, because when you think of a spiritual teacher, it's usually someone who's maybe slightly elder in age, slightly more mature, but I think they really probably connect much better when it's coming from someone who's, you know, living life that they're just about to live. So well done to you. So we're going to move on to Yvonne Hall, who is from the Buddhist faith. She's 22 years old and a practicing Buddhist with a deep interest in philosophy, religion, and interfaith understanding. She currently works as a business apprentice and enjoys volunteering for events that bring people together. She's passionate about encouraging compassion, conversations, and open-mindedness across different faiths and worldviews. So over to you, Yvonne.
Hello, thank you for having me, and thank you for everyone so far for your lovely talks. Yeah, I guess I'll get straight into it. I don't want to go on too long because I know I can waffle, so let's get straight into it. So for what my faith means to me, so for me, Buddhism is it's like a way of life. It's a way of practicing compassion and mindfulness every day. Buddhism doesn't encourage those to be reactive. It's very much a religion where you're encouraged to kind of take a step back and really kind of look at things objectively and not be triggered by something or engage in something which may not be helpful or useful to you or helpful or useful to other people. I began over 2,500 years ago. I don't know the exact number, that's not very good of me, but that's how long it was. And it started with the Buddha. He taught that peace and clarity come from understanding the nature of our minds. And I hear the term we have like monkey minds a lot, in the sense that, especially nowadays, we have so many things stimulating us, and we have so many different things to think about in this new age, that our minds are definitely very much of that nature. And it's the Buddha who basically taught us how to control that nature and how to objectively look at that nature and overcome suffering brought about by that nature. Core teachings, which are there's Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. So the Four Noble Truths basically just saying that, you know, suffering exists. There's a cessation to suffering, the way to get rid of suffering, and the way to get rid of suffering or to alleviate suffering is through the Eightfold Path. Eightfold Path is very simple set of 8 sentences. It's like right action, right mindfulness, right livelihood, right speech, and whatnot. So these kind of principles within Buddhism, it helps me to make sense of the world and to live with compassion, because compassion is a very big part of Buddhism. Mindfulness also, and I guess overall there's like wisdom from the Buddha. So me personally, I follow the Theravada tradition, which is practiced mainly in Southeast Asia and Sri Lanka, but there's also other major sects of Buddhism, such as Vajrayana, which is mainly practiced in Tibet and Himalayas and Mongolia and certain areas of Russia. And then there's Mahayana, which is usually kind of practiced in East Asia, so Japan, South Korea, China, for example. But they all share the same root of compassion and the wish to reduce suffering. So how I engage my faith in today's world, as I've kind of mentioned previously, we have a lot of things in this new age which, you know, we're kind of overstimulated these days, especially with, you know, our smartphones and whatnot. And, you know, we all know people's attention spans are like getting shorter and shorter every day. It's not really great for us, really. But yeah, in order to try and combat kind of stuff, I try to kind of apply teachings of the Buddha in kind of small, like consistent ways. So it's not always doing like, I don't know, 4 hours straight of meditation. It's just like every day doing something mindful. There's also the concept of impermanence within Buddhism. So that helps me personally to like accept the fact that nothing's permanent. There's things that you can't control. And it's better to accept that rather than dwell on those kind of things, if that makes sense. And the teaching of mindfulness, it helps me to stay present because there's so many things to worry about these days, you know, and it's easy to overthink. But mindfulness helps you to ground you in the moment. So yeah, it just, those experiences remind me that it's not just about like, it's not just about personal reflection in Buddhism. Of course, it is very personal religion, but yeah, it's about just right action again, like the Eightfold Path, right action, right speech, right thoughts. Is it, but not just about practicing compassion for yourself, but it's about doing it for others also. So I guess the final one is what interfaith dialogue collaboration means to me. Is about recognizing that there's so many people on this earth, there's so many different beliefs. Even within religions, there's going to be different beliefs within that religion, and then different beliefs within that sect, and different beliefs within certain groups. We're very diverse as a species, I guess, to put it that way. But regardless of that, and regardless of how different we may think in terms of how, if there's a creator God or if there's not a creator God, or if time is linear or if time is cyclical, or if there's one God or multiple gods, I think what can really bring us together is understanding that at the end of the day, we all just really want to live in a peaceful world. We want to live together, compassionately, because of, again, the different beliefs we have. It's better for everyone to practice tolerance, and Buddhism does encourage tolerance, especially through certain meditation techniques like metta meditation. It's called compassion meditation, and during that meditation you extend compassion towards yourself, and then it's compassion towards your friends and family, and then it's compassion towards people you don't really know, and then it's compassion towards people you don't like, people who you've had arguments with, disagreements with. And the final part is compassion towards every single being without exception. So I think that's also really powerful teaching in Buddhism, and yeah, it's definitely very pertinent in terms of speaking about interfaith dialogue and tolerance. Yeah, so that's me.
Love that. Thank you, Yvonne. Yeah, particularly enjoy hearing about the Buddhist faith because there's the most number of I think similarities between the Buddhist and Jain faith in terms of principles and values. So yeah, it was really lovely to hear from you. And our next speaker, so I'm just going to have to ask everyone to keep it slightly shorter, please, just so we're running out of time for Q&A otherwise. So it's Miguel Oliveira from the Christian Faith. He's 17 years old. He's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS, and advocates for faith-based service as a way to strengthen communities. He enjoys engaging in conversations that highlight shared values across religions. And Miguel's 17 years old. He might be our youngest speaker here. So over to you, please.
Yes, thank you. It's a shorter introduction than most people, but then again, it is because I'm 17, and I hope that as I continue to explain that at the end of this session, for example, I can add one extra bit to my introduction. And so faith to me is a really interesting topic because I've been a member of my church my entire life, but I've been recently getting to a point where I am developing an understanding of my faith better. And in recent times, in the last 2 years, I've been noticing that faith to me at the moment seems like a staircase. And it's a staircase based on believing and acting in love. And what that means for me is that every day I can hope to take another step on that staircase. And as I go up it, I can do things in the community and to the people around me that will help me love them better and love myself better, just like our church teaches that Jesus Christ did love everyone, and he still loves everyone. He loves everyone. He sacrificed himself for the whole world. And I base my faith on the belief that I can also love everyone and do my very best to make everyone feel loved and to make sure that love is an essential bit of my service. So I've been able to, over the years, hear from my parents that their side of faith, and then I was able to compare it in more recent times to my faith and my belief. And I've discovered that although I am on a specific part of my staircase, that they're slightly ahead of me on the staircase. And one thing I try and do is every day I try and get myself up a step on that staircase, but also bring them up a step in their staircase. And it's especially really nice because my school, um, I'm in a class where we all have different beliefs. And so it's really helpful and not nice to be able to um, listen to people's beliefs and use them to evaluate whether the people are on their own staircase and evaluate their perspectives and see my perspectives and see how I can love them and help them climb their staircase towards their goal, and how we can help each other love each other more. And it's been really helpful because recently I've been getting more stressed because it's the run up to my final exams before university now. So the people around me in school and in the community where I try and help, they've been able to share their experiences with me, and I can definitely feel that my faith is definitely being acted on with love by the other people. And things like these meetings with Interfaith and also the meetings I have with other interfaith groups in my more local community really help me because um, I can know um, the next steps that I can take to my faith and the next steps that my faith can help me to grow as a person, and to prepare me for when my faith gets brought down. So whenever I have to take a step back on that staircase because my life gets tough, because I know I got a tough time ahead of me because I'm still 17. So it is it's a nice thing to have these meetings, to have these um communions of people where we can all share our perspectives and enjoy each other's company for the little time that it lasts, which um we should have really much longer talks. And we could, but yeah, that's me. I know love is a big part of my faith and I love being here.
Thank you so much, Miguel. That was really interesting. I especially love the analogy of the staircase, and it's not just about you yourself kind of stepping up on there, but also bringing other people up with you. It's amazing, and yeah, you've got very sound head for 17, so I'm sure you're going to do great at university. Fine. So next speaker is Alicia Umar from the Islamic faith. So Alicia is a 19-year-old Muslim woman who studies architecture and writes fantasy books. When she's not writing or working on assignments, she enjoys learning new languages, researching interesting topics, reading, and taking naps with her cat. She loves meeting new people and supporting her community in whatever way she can, and looks forward to future events. So over to you, Alicia.
Thank you so much. I'll try and keep it as brief as I can because I know that we are running a little bit tight on time. I am Alicia. I am 19 years old and I am an Niqabi woman. I have been a Muslim for my entire life, but I know that just like in all faiths, faith is something that you have to find for yourself, even if it is something that you're born into. So everyone says that even if you're born a Muslim, you have to find Islam for yourself, which is so true. I think when I was younger, I didn't really understand a lot of it. A lot of the things that we were being taught and stuff like that, I believed it, but I had so many questions, and it was just about voicing those questions. And that is what faith is. It is about asking questions and not being afraid to ask those questions so that you can learn your own faith better and that you can also learn others, which is why we have this amazing meeting tonight. I think that Islam is all about putting your best foot forward in everything that you do. whether it is in your work, in your hobbies, in meeting new people, your relationships, you're always trying to put your best foot forward. And that is just such an integral part of my religion. I know that faith is something that you have to be very firm in. When the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, first brought Islam to the people and first publicly started preaching it, there was, of course, a lot of backlash, as there is when all people begin to preach something new and something different. And one of the things that was said to him was, you know, how about one day we practice your religion, and then the other day we'll go back to worshipping our idols, or we'll go back to worshipping our gods, and then we'll go back to your religion, like this. And he was very firm and said, no, for me is my religion and for you is your religion, which is that whole thing of being firm in your faith and understanding that you shouldn't waver in your beliefs, right? When somebody challenges you and challenges your beliefs, it shouldn't deter you from what it is that you believe in. In fact, it should strengthen you and it should push you to learn more about who you are, about your identity, about your faith. If you feel like there's doubt in your heart, maybe it doesn't mean that you're on the wrong path. It just means that you need to work harder in order to understand your own faith better. And dialogues like this, I think, are so important and are so beautiful in bringing out that aspect of all of us. They are such an important part as well, especially considering we live in an age of social media where I will go online and I will open comment sections and see people saying crazy things from all different sorts of religions. And I know when I see a comment from another Muslim, that is not Islam. That is not what our teachings teach us. Just when other people, I'm sure, will see a comment from somebody who identifies with the same faith as them, saying something so out of pocket or something that goes against their beliefs, and it's out there for the entire world to see, and all it does is bring negativity. And communities like this and events like this can help break that down so much, and people who don't have access to really anyone in person to kind of break down those barriers that social media has put in place can come to places like this and learn more and kind of overcome their fears, because I think that there is a lot of fear in the world at the minute that we all do need to overcome, and that just begins with understanding one another and getting to know one another. So that was everything from me, and I loved everyone so far.
It's lovely, Alicia. Really, really passionately spoke about religion and about such a topical subject on social media as well. And I completely agree with you. That comment section is infuriating sometimes. So thanks for that. So our next speaker is Bhikkhu Chittadhammo. Sorry again if I've got that name wrong. So born in the French-speaking area of Switzerland, Chittadhammo Bhikkhu grew up in a small alpine village. After completing high school in Switzerland, he moved to Montreal, Canada, to live and pursue university studies in physics and mathematics. During his first year, he participated in 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat in the tradition of S.N. Goenka. This had a great impact on him, and he continued to meditate and serve in this tradition for many years. After completing his undergrad study, he discovered the Ajahn tradition, and decided to dedicate himself to the monastic life. He spent 2 years at Tisarana Monastery in Ontario under the leadership of Han Virdhamo, and after a short trip to Thailand, decided to continue his training in England. He's now a resident at Amaravati. So excited to hear from you.
Yes, thank you for inviting us. It's quite interesting. We were quite last minute invited to that meeting, but I'm quite happy to be here. And I realize there's quite a lot of words in my biography which are kind of foreign, but I hope it's not too bad. So maybe one thing I just realized is we don't really use the word faith in our circles, I would say, in the monastery or just in like the Western Buddhist kind of circles. And but I kind of realize now that actually what you're talking about is like what your practice means to you. And this is something we use a lot, actually, this word, the practice, because we, like Buddhist monks or any kind of Buddhist practitioners, we will say, we don't really, it's not really a religion of belief. So we don't have really like a strong faith, or it's more like a religion of investigation, we would say. And so that's what means to me is like, that's the practice we do every day. We try to understand our mind. I think there was someone who was talking about Buddhist principles, but it's like trying to understand suffering, trying to understand your mind, meditating, trying to calm your mind and like resolve your anxiety and observe yourself. And so this is really what the meaning of our practice, I would say, is like trying to understand ourselves and trying to understand what's the origin of suffering. And that's kind of the core of the Buddha's teaching. How do you engage with your faith in today's world? Well, we live in a monastery, so it's pretty secluded. We do have people visiting us, but we're pretty kind of cut off from the world. We go for alms round in the village, so we see sometimes people, but we don't really have access to media or stuff like that. So we live together in a community and we meditate together. And so we don't really engage broadly, I would say, but we engage with people who comes to us. So people come to the monastery to meditate, they come to learn about Buddhism, and we do engage with these people. And this is part of our practice, is also to help people to share any insight we had about ourselves might be actually beneficial for someone else. So we're very junior monks, both of us, so we don't really actually engage very much with people. We're still in the beginning of our training, and usually more senior monk will engage with other people, but we do a little bit. And what interfaith dialogue means to me, actually, I was in Italy recently. I spent the summer into a monastery in Italy, and I did a pilgrimage on the San Franciscan pilgrimage path. And we met a lot of different Christians and Christian monks and St. Benedictine monks. And that was quite interesting. And one insight kind of stuck in my mind is I was talking to that guy from New York who was a strong Christian in the monastery. And we were talking about trying to understand what's the meaning of God and how do you understand this and where it's coming from, their quest for this connection with God. And maybe one of the insights I had was actually this feeling of a presence. That's what usually they mean by God. It's like they feel this love, they feel this presence. And this is something we actually do in Buddhism, but we don't call it God. We just call it mindfulness or even emptiness. Sunyata, maybe you've heard those terms. It's like you are aware of your awareness. And this is like a bigger presence, is a meta-awareness. And this is for me something very interesting because I can talk to someone who have a very different perspective on practice and religion, but we're actually doing the same thing. We just use very different words. And so interfaith dialogue is actually quite illuminating in some aspect of that sense. And so that's it for today for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was lovely. And we have also Samahito. Sorry, I should have read both of your introductions up together. But so Tan Samahito was born in 1993 and grew up in Le Blanc-Mesnil near Paris, France. He worked for a few years in advertising and web development in Paris before deciding to live the monastic life. He became a bhikkhu in Amravati on 29th of December 2023. So lovely to have you here.
Yes, so maybe I can tell why I decide to become a monk, and then it will lead to the other question. Let's see. So basically, when I was in my 20s, so I was working in advertising, and I think I was a bit stressed in my life, so I decided to go to Thailand and to spend time in a monastery. And there, so basically, when you live in monastery, you have a very strict routine, and you have to abandon most of the things you like in life. Like you have one meal a day, you sleep very little, and you spend your day basically helping around and spending time on yourself and reflecting on meditating and then when I was there, I had this feeling of not even like really feeling full and happy and well, just being there, even if the condition was complicated and difficult. And then I had this feeling, I came back to my life and I had this feeling, oh, what brings that happiness? I couldn't find it then after that. and the thing that came out is the feeling of letting go of me and myself, letting go of my preference, letting go of what I like, letting go of that for something else. So when I was in Thailand, it was for a community. So then I realized, okay, so how can I develop this this sense of letting go and of faith in a way, or trusting in something bigger than me. And as Tanchita Damo say, we call it presence or consciousness or awareness, but that has to come something that is beyond me. So then I started to look to letting go of my life, layman, and becoming a Buddhist monk. So the setting of being a Buddhist monk allows us to develop this sense of letting go of the self and of this burden of preference and all that create this tension, inner tension, letting go of that tension and to go into something else. So what your faith mean to you? So I don't know if it's very clear when it's more like a feeling, but it's a feeling of really letting go of things that create stress inside me, and just and in the way we live in the monastery is letting go of my preference to go to the community here, and to go to give myself to the community. And then it will go to the second question, how you engage with your faith in today's world. So in the community, I engage with just being present and asking myself, how can I help now? And not really following what I want, but what is needed. That I feel it's my way to go through and to cultivate that sense of letting go. And then last question, what interfaith dialogue and collaboration means to you? So it's interesting because people here, I was listening, and people are talking about social media and news. And the thing interesting in the monastery, we don't have access to social media. There is no social media. So it's like we live in a little bubble where social media doesn't exist. We don't have that. And we also don't really access to news. So it's, for me, it's very important. It's interesting, this meeting, to just see that, okay, there is a world that exists outside of the monastery, and people have other faiths, and to hear basically we are all looking for the same thing, being happy and have a fulfilled life. But how people frame it in the different way, and how you live it in your life in different ways with different beliefs, it's very, very interesting and inspiring to listen. So that's it for me.
Thank you so much, both of you. It's amazing how you both shared so much depth with such a simplicity. And I think for all of us, well, for me personally, especially, seeing someone as the same kind of age bracket as most of us here, leading such a life is truly inspiring. So so thank you so much. We are now on to our penultimate speaker before we move on to myself and then the Q&A. So Shreya Seth from the Hindu Faith. Shreya is a full-time corporate professional and a proud new mum to a 15-month-old baby boy. She loves being surrounded by friends and family and describes herself as a big-time foodie. Excellent. Her interest in Hinduism stems from birth, having grown up in a Hindu family, and she continues to embrace her faith as part of her everyday life. So over to you, Shreya.
Hi, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk. For me, growing up in a Hindu family, the religion and the practice was never forced. It was always about festival, getting dressed up, eating good foods on festival days, and meeting families and friends. I became more close to my faith when I left my home for my studies, and then I realized, okay, faith is not only about celebrating or just uh, having good stuff. It's more about the deep thinking that is within us. And it triggers when you are alone in life, when you are very close to your friends and family. You feel that, oh, everything is so great. You are always surrounded by good things, good memories. But when you are alone, you feel that, oh, your faith plays a very important role in giving direction to life. So I believe my faith has just not started with the practices that I've seen. It's the journey that I had lived, going away from home, my career choices, definitely so much from my failures, and then striking back that the path I thought is best for me. But I always believe God has a plan, and He gives you something that you never thought would be an even option, an opportunity. So getting an opportunity like that, and then finding a good person in life, having a family, brings you more close to faith and religion. Then bringing my second question, how do I engage with my faith on day-to-day life? uh, Caring about people I love, I am surrounded by, uh, being nice to people in their not so good time, I would say. You definitely come across friends, family, your colleagues, people in your way in your life that you feel that definitely they are not going through a good, or they are having a tough patch. Being kind, being honest, that brings you more closer to your faith, to bringing more close to humanity, I believe. This is what all religion, all faith talks about. That's very close to me. And the last segment of the question, how interfaith dialogues and collaboration means to me. Definitely, what I believe and my faiths are different from people I am surrounded by, be it my colleagues, be it my friends, be it a community member. Being respectful, understanding each and every perspective is very important. For me, I don't believe that, okay, I can practice my faith and religion on any special day or any month. It should come from within in all aspects of life. Definitely, people have their own beliefs and way of practicing. And I believe that I have this tendency of questioning why. I cannot just accept everything how is just taught and preached. So questioning that and getting answers from different viewpoint, if people have their own view from different religion and faith, actually brings me more closer to the community and society at large. Yeah, just wants to wrap up with it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that really lovely insight into Hinduism. And I especially want to know what food you like the best. We'll take that away in the Q&A. So no, we are actually on to me now as the last speaker for the Jain faith. But before I start with what my faith means to me, I'm not going to do an intro just now because I think we did that already. But yeah, before I start with what my faith means, I'd love to know what it means to you guys. How many of you have actually heard of Jainism before? Just with a show of hands, I'll just yeah. Oh, good. Okay, fine. Quite a few. Okay. Oh, sorry. Hang on. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I've got a message from someone in the chat saying Imam Zafar. I will bring Imam on to speak just after me. So thank you for that, Tahir. So yeah, a few of you have heard of Jainism. As part of my role as public relations, I go to quite a few of these interfaith events. Whenever I introduce myself as a Jain, it's usually one of two reactions. It's either The first one's my favorite. It's like, oh, what's that? I've never heard of it. And then I'm like, oh, perfect. Okay, I get to talk about it. But the other reaction, which is way more common, is, oh, you're the guys that don't eat potatoes and carrots and onions. That's what I end up hearing the most. And just like that, my beautiful, deep, meaningful faith is reduced to a potato. So no one ever starts by saying like, oh, Jainism, a tradition that teaches compassion and non-violence towards all living beings. No, we just go straight to the root vegetable. But I just want to take a step back and tell you why that's even a thing. So Jainism is based on 5 guiding principles, and the first and foremost one is ahimsa, so non-violence. And every faith does talk about peace and kindness. Jainism just takes it to an nth level. So it just teaches us that we're deeply interconnected with everything around us: humans, animals, insects, and even plants. We share this planet with them, so we should do what we can to cause the least harm possible. We all know it's obviously impossible to live without causing any harm, but where we can, we try to minimize it, and that's where something like root vegetables comes in, because Jainism teaches that multiple organisms live within root crops. So by avoiding them and eating other green vegetables or other pulses and beans and things like that, by avoiding them, we're reducing that harm even in the smallest of ways. But what I really love about my faith is that it's not a list of do's and don'ts. It's a way of life. It's more like, here's the knowledge. Now you decide how consciously you want to live. So everyone always thinks like, oh, James is so strict, like you guys can't do this, you can't do this. No, it's just saying, this is the knowledge as spoken by the enlightened ones. Our last prophet was Lord Mahavir. He was a contemporary of Lord Buddha, which is why our Buddhism and Jainism are so closely linked. But yeah, that's the main thing I love about it, because it kind of tells you everything that's good and right to do as not just a good human being, but just not to other humans, just to everything around the world. But you follow what you can according to your own capacity. There's a line by Srimad Rajchandraji. So Srimad Rajchandraji, who are my community organization that's based in Bushi, is named after. It's called Srimad Rajchandra Mission Dharmpur, or SRMD. UK. So Srimad Rajchandraji was a 18th century poet, philosopher. He's credited with being Mahatma Gandhi's spiritual guide and kind of guiding him onto this path of non-violence. And he says, the one who sees all beings as his own self experiences supreme compassion. That's what ahimsa means in our faith, because it's not just avoiding harm, but seeing yourself in others. And for me, Jainism isn't just that belief system. It's literally a way of being, how to kind of not step away from life, but move through it consciously. Like, am I being asking myself, like, am I being kind, am I acting with integrity? And being part of my community, SRMD UK, has really helped me live that through volunteering, serving others, and this especially connecting with people from so many different backgrounds. We also we have a spiritual guide as well, Gurudev Sri Rakeshji, who's the disciple of Srimad Rajchandra, and he says, true spirituality is not about changing the world, but transforming the way you see it, and that perspective shifts. It changes everything for me, how I respond to challenges, how I intend to treat others, and how I intend to contribute to the world, like many of us have spoken. And that shows up in small things, whether it's choosing a vegetarian lifestyle, taking a few quiet moments to reflect every day, and so on, and especially trying to see others with kindness, even when there can be disagreements, because that's where interfaith dialogue really comes in, because when we listen to each other with sincerity, we don't lose our identity. It's our languages of faith might differ slightly, but the heart of it, the compassion, the truth, the humility is all shared, and that's what we deepen whenever we have these kind of events. And especially as young people, we really do have such an important role to play in shaping the future of all of our faiths, and this is what the essence of which I wanted to get across in this, hoping to get across in today's event. So I realized we only have actually 15 minutes left, and I really want to move on to the Q&A. I have suggested if we can just run over by about 10 minutes to give people a chance to kind of contribute any questions. I see we've got a lot in the chat actually. Oh, sorry, 1 second. I did want Imam Zafar also to speak. Is Imam Zafar on the call?
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can indeed. I will, yeah, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, and we will let you take over. Yeah.
Yes, sure. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. My name is Zafar Ahmed. I'm 27 years old, and I currently serve as an imam of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community overseeing our chapter here in Watford. And I've been serving in this role for just under a year now. And alongside this, I'm also the regional youth coordinator for the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association in Hertfordshire. And that has given me the opportunity to work closely with young individuals, helping them nurture their faith and become positive contributors to society. Now, coming to the first question, what faith actually means to me. For me personally, faith gives me purpose. It gives my life a direction and a firm grounding. That faith reminds me that life isn't simply about personal comfort or gain. It's actually about service to God and service to mankind. And Islam, in its truest sense, is a religion of peace. It teaches that devotion to God must manifest in compassion towards His creation. And living in today's fast-paced society and often divided world, engaging with faith can be challenging. Society today emphasizes on material success and individualism, but faith reminds us of a balance that while we strive for excellence, we should remember that our hearts must remain anchored in higher values like honesty, humility, serving others. Now, how can I engage with or how do I engage with how do I engage with faith, sorry, in today's world? As an imam, engaging with faith is both a spiritual task for me and a practical one. It's not about leading prayers or delivering sermons. It's also about being present in people's lives, visiting the sick, guiding young people through challenges, helping our community serve society, whether that's organizing food drives, blood donation, charity walks. Faith calls us to step out of our places of worship into the wider world to spread peace and kindness. Now, my role with the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association has deepened this understanding. I've had the chance to work with young people. I see how faith can be a powerful force for good, inspiring them to serve others and become beacons of positivity in society. And I can give you an example of myself that when I was 16 years old, during my GCSEs, during that time, the UK was struck by severe floods. And I was given the opportunity to volunteer and help those people affected. And I spent 5 days of my half term assisting families and supporting relief efforts. Now, I didn't expect any recognition. I simply wanted to help people in need. But as it turned out, God had a different plan. That small act of service led to opportunities I could never have even imagined. I was invited to share my story on television. I received an award for it. I even had the chance to meet the Prime Minister at the time, David Cameron, and I was awarded the Point of Light Award at the time. But the thing is, I never sought these experiences. They were a reminder that when we serve selflessly, God opens doors you can never even anticipate. That moment reinforced my belief that serving others is one of the most profound ways to live one's faith, and it continues to motivate me even today. Now, coming to the last question, what does interfaith dialogue mean to me? To me, interfaith engagement is one of the most beautiful and hopeful expressions of faith. It allows us to see that while our beliefs may differ, our moral aspirations, compassion, justice, peace, these are all the same. Through dialogue, we replace misunderstanding with respect and transform differences into mutual growth. The Holy Quran very beautifully says, "And we have made you into nations and tribes so that you may recognize one another." Now, this verse reminds us that diversity is not a barrier, it's a blessing. It's a divine opportunity to learn, to connect, and to build together. So for me, faith is not an abstract idea or a weekend ritual. It's a living guiding light. It shapes how I think, how I serve, and how I engage with others. And my hope and my prayer is that through continued dialogue, through continued understanding and compassion, we can work together to build a world defined not by division, but by unity and peace. And it's also quite nice to see that there are so many young individuals here present today. Usually when I attend interfaith meetings, I'm usually the youngest one in the room. So it's great to see that today I'm not the youngest, and there are many people who are younger than me. But again, thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak today. And I hope we can further strengthen this bridge.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Imam Zafar. I'm really glad that you could make it at the end. So thank you for your time here tonight. And I'm now going to lead on to our Q&A session. As I mentioned, we're going to take an extra 10 minutes. I know cut-off time was 9 o'clock, but there are quite a few questions. So if everyone can stay for 10 minutes, then great. If you have to leave, absolutely fine. But yeah, I will take the one question I did want to take, there was one from Maggie, from Yvonne. What about Catholicism made it special for you compared to other Christian denominations? And I know I didn't give you a chance to speak at the start, I had to cut you off. So if you had anything to add in answer to Yvonne's question, that'd be great. Go ahead.
Of course, it's actually one of my favorite questions ever. Since we're talking about within Christianity specifically, I would, right off the bat, I would say the Eucharist. That is one thing that is unique to Apostolic Christianity, the belief that our God is not just spiritually, but bodily present in the sacrifice, in the bread and the wine, that we actually get to stand before our God literally, not just as something that we imagine, but literally in the bodily presence of our God. Every time that we go to a Catholic church, every time that we go to worship at Mass, we get to be in the literal presence of God. And something that ties into this is also because several Christian churches have the Eucharist and different understandings of the Eucharist. The other thing that would make me choose Catholicism over any other Christian church is apostolic succession and the way in which authority, in which teaching, in which everything is anchored to the original Christians that received the initial revelations from God, from Jesus Christ, so that Christianity is not a sort of free-floating idea based on something that happened thousands of years ago, but that there's actually a tangible link through history and a passing of an office, not just a passing of a story, but a passing of an office, a teaching office, as well as a priestly office throughout the generations to us today, so that we can live the exact same faith that the apostles and the followers of Christ lived, and by extension also the faith that the Jewish people then started to live as Jesus Christ came around. So that we have that continuation of what has been revealed to us from beginning from Adam and Eve down through the line of the Jewish prophets, through Abraham, through Isaac and Jacob and Moses, and then all the way down through the prophets to finally Jesus Christ. So the Eucharist and apostolic succession would be what made me specifically Catholic.
Great, thank you for answering my question. I know about the Eucharist. I actually was raised Catholic, and that is what makes Catholicism quite special in the sense that there's the transubstantiation during Mass, which actually makes bread and wine like physically Jesus. And yeah, that's definitely because I know other denominations, I'm friends with other Christians too. They're not Catholic, but they see it as more like symbolic rather than literal. But Catholicism, it is literal, which makes it special. So. Yeah.
No, we definitely see it as literal.
Thanks for the question. That's lovely. So we had one from Chitamo and Samhita, Buddhist monks. So this is for Cheyenne. Can you speak more about the practice or meditation that you may have practiced? Is it related to Advaita Vedanta?
Sorry, can you just repeat?
Yeah, of course, it's in the chat as well. But can you speak more about the practice or meditation that you may have practiced? Is it related to the Advaita Vedanta?
So Advaita Vedanta is sort of very separate philosophy to what what we cultivate in ISKCON. It's more like Krishna consciousness. It's a change of consciousness. What we try and provide is a spiritual experience that's cultivated through the process of bhakti, which I explained in my speech. And what we get from bhakti is this love for God that we do through chanting, through meditative processes, through reading, and through understanding God entirely, and through showing our love for Him. We develop a connection which can help sort of change our consciousness. And we basically believe that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and all other gods are sort of not below him, but they are all sort of one in that sense as well. Like they're all valid parts. Basically, there are different parts to God, and they're all valid.
Wonderful. Thank you. There's been quite a bit of interesting discussion in the chat. Specific questions wise, there is one that I wanted to kind of throw out at everyone, particularly in the context of, I think a lot of us have like touched on how chaotic life may seem at present, especially social media. You see a lot that's happening all around the world and so on, and how we use our faith to really navigate that. Are there any like specific examples that people wanted to call out, apart from the ones that we did already here, on how how faith really helps you stay grounded in those times? Because this is something that obviously we want to try and pass on. Anyone can take that if you wish. No volunteers? I'll pick on you. Who's still here? Let's see. Anyone from the audience as well? Someone who hasn't spoken, maybe? We'll invite you as well.
Sorry, Janie, can you rephrase the last bit? I didn't quite
Yes,
get the end.
sure. So the question was basically, in the world that we live in, so chaotic and everything that we see around us. A lot of our speakers touched on the fact that faith helps us stay grounded and kind of navigate all of those difficulties. And any other examples that people may have wanted to share, day to day, even how it kind of helps you, stay in your like equanimous or positive state.
Thank you. I think I'll take that. Go ahead, please. Go ahead and go ahead.
No, it's fine. You already started.
No. I'm speaking because no one else was, and I want other people to speak because I speak all the time. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Tahir, Imam Tahir. I also belong to the same community as Imam Zafir. I'm situated here in Stevenage. I wasn't young enough to participate in the actual discussion and presentation in the beginning, but this topic I think is very important. Just on this last question, I think how faith keeps us grounded. I mean, if we look around us, a lot of the speakers, they spoke about the problems that people face in society, social media, and the distractions that we have with materialism. Faith, and from a Muslim and Islam perspective, Islam teaches that in every aspect of your life, whether that's health, whether that's work, whether that's family, whether that's your different stages of growing up, Islam guides you, and faith and God will always guide you. If you are true to Him, if you are loyal to Him, if you remain attached to Him, then whatever difficulties come in your way, like I mentioned, with that's job, with that's health, with that's family disputes, whatever it may be, the Quran sheds light on that, and that is that when you reach out to God, when you try and build a relationship with God, when you continuously persevere in doing what God tells you to do, following the guidance of God, then God will always give you a way out. And that can be through dreams, through revelation, through simply sending someone as a friend, as a family member who can be there at that right time to help that person, to guide that person, to take them out of any sort of difficulty they may be. So it's especially now when the distractions, the materialism is much more, prevalent. Faith teaches us that, this world is, is finite. This world will end, and faith lives on. Your soul is what faith nurtures. The faith nurtures your soul, and that is what lives on. So I think it's a very interesting question, and there's multiple ways of answering it. But I think when you are attached to your faith, then you will always be grounded. You will always be strong and persevere through whatever difficulties come in your way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Tahir. That was very insightful indeed. Thank you for sharing that. We've got some hands up as well, so I'm going to take them in order. First of all, Yvonne, would you like to share?
Jainil?
Yeah, go.
I think Valerie's got her hand first.
Oh, Valerie. Okay, fine.
Valerie,
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead, Valerie. Sure.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, Maggie is a member of my church. And like Maggie, I am also a convert to Catholicism from Anglicanism, but for many years now. One of the things I really treasure about being a Catholic is that when big life issues come about, like assisted dying, for instance, I know that I can rely on the authority of the church to guide me. I don't need to say any more than that, but that really encapsulates, I know where I can go to for guidance. And I believe that the succession of the Pope through the bishops could give me the guidance that I need. We believe that life from conception to death is precious and in God's hands and not in anybody else's. So we're very anti-abortion, and we're certainly going to fight very hard against the assisted dying bill. That's me. Thank you.
Valerie. Brian, I think you were next.
Thank you. I was very impressed. It's been a evening. You are all incredible. So far, you said, it amused me, at 27, you're usually the youngest person in the room. So my question is to all of you. What would excite you to be part of a new Hertfordshire youth interfaith group? Does that appeal to you? That is my question.
Thank you, Brian. We've got Yvonne's hand up. So would everyone actually write their comments in the chat as well as come on the screen, please? Thank you.
Just in case we run out of time, yeah. Yvonne, did you want to take that, or was your hand up for something else?
So I was responding to initially like you and like your question, but then to Brian, yeah, I would be interested personally. So I'll answer Brian's question too. But in terms of like your question, like was it to do with like how your faith guides you in like these kind of modern times and kind of issues? I'd say like Buddhism, what teaches me is that anything can change and anything can change for the better, and it's a very hopeful message. It's a very powerful story within Buddhism about a man called, I'm sure I'm saying correctly, it's called Angulimala, and during the Buddha's time, he was a fierce bandit, and he was known for being a murderer actually, and he was driven to this because he was a very bright student, and his peers were very jealous of him, so they spread rumors about him, and this meant that he couldn't graduate, and this made him very angry, and so he carried out these killings before he met the Buddha. And the Buddha was walking into the forest, and even his disciple was saying to him, don't go into that forest because the bandit is there. And the Buddha still went to the forest, but he still walked in there. And when Angulimala saw the Buddha in the forest, he kept running towards him, and no matter how fast he ran, he couldn't catch up with the Buddha, right? And it was very surprising to him. So he called out to the Buddha to get him to stop. And the Buddha said to Angulimala that he has stopped, but it's him who has not stopped. And what he meant by that was saying that he had stopped harming others while Angulimala kept continuing. And this one moment of the Buddha completely transformed Angulimala's life, and he dropped all his weapons. He renounced violence completely and became a monk and it's like a disciple of the Buddha. And that story is very powerful to me, because even though that story from a very long time ago, it's something that happens still to this day. You know, dealing with jealousy, dealing with rumors, dealing with people speaking about you, and it shows that when you choose to actually stop for a minute and listen to these teachings of the Buddha, you realize that you can really change the situation, not because they've stopped talking about you, but because you have those things in you. And you can't stop people from saying things about you, from people bothering you. You can't stop bad things happening in your life, but what you always will have are those teachings that can completely transform your life for the better. And yeah, that's kind of my perspective on that question, I guess. But yeah.
Thank you. That's been really nice. Thank you. And I do want to get people to respond to Brian's question, because what does that look like to you in practice? You know, how because everyone always talks about it. Whenever we have these kind of events, it's great. It brings everyone together, but then we go a long time without kind of any other follow-up. So you don't have to answer right now, but please do have a think about this. And
sorry, Janelle. Before Father Norbert, please, just 1 second. I just wanted to know, I'm going to paste something in the chat, and it's just a question in response to Brian's question. Where are we going next? So this is the beginning. This is not the end by any chance. We're going to finish this conversation tonight, but it is the start of the young people in this conversation and many more coming together. So it is the beginning. So I'm going to post something in the chat. Just want you to consider it, and let's think of where we're going. Thank you. Sorry, Father Norbert, for jumping in.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
over to you, Father Norbert. Yeah.
I'm the Catholic parish priest in Wollongong City, and I chair the Christian Leaders Group. But I think there should be a group with the older and the younger, whole range, not having separates, because that informs how those of us who are getting a bit older, how we think, and it's lovely to have the youth with us. And it'd been brilliant. Would have been brilliant to have had a face-to-face where we could have then interacted with each other afterwards. But I think to separate the young people from others, that's not going to be good longer term for Interfaith in Hertfordshire.
No, absolutely, and I don't think that was the purpose of this event by any means. It was just to bring kind of the young people together to, you know, like show.
I say that the danger is that it would be the youth in a separate wing, and then the interfaith carrying on as it's always carried on. Whereas I think what's happened this evening has been really, really good.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you. So I will. Chari, is there any closing remarks you kind of wanted to make just before because I'm conscious that people will need to shoot soon, including myself. So if there's anything else.
Yeah, we've got Payam and sorry, Chittadamo and Samihito. If we can keep our comments really short, please, really brief. So that we can hand over to Brian for closing this webinar. Thank you. Sorry, Jainil. So Chittadamo and then, is it Payam?
So can you hear me? Yeah. So I think I just wanted to comment on the last thing that was said. And just to let you know that I came tonight, I don't know for Samito, but I came specifically because it was like a young sharing with younger people. I don't think, because we do receive a lot of invitation, and for me it was quite appealing to know that there will be a lot of young people. So make sure that to keep that aspect of if you do other events like that, is quite important. So I think that's how you draw younger people. Thank you.
Thank you. Samahito?
No, he said that I didn't have anything to
Okay, that's fine. Jainil, I think we have no more hands up.
Brilliant. So okay. Well, the next steps, I guess, as Temi and Chari will follow up. But I just wanted to thank all our speakers.
You're missing Payam. Sorry.
Sorry. Oh, Payam. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, just also on the last comment that was talked about the youth and the elders. I'm also from the Baha'i community, and you know, unity is a very important thing. But there's a teaching specifically in the Baha'i faith that says that, you know, the youth are the spearhead of the community, so they're the ones that advocate change. And you know, for example, in our community in the Baha'i faith, there are many kind of youth gatherings, youth conferences, which kind of raises the capacity of the youth to serve the communities. And I think, you know, having a space for youth specifically is a really vital thing actually for the community, because it teaches youth to come together and have dialogue, and obviously inspire and encourage other youth. But that doesn't mean that we should separate the youth and the adults. There should still be spaces that contains everyone together. But I think specific spaces for youth is really essential to the community, and I think it's something that should definitely be considered.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pam, for that. Yeah, just anyone else with anything else? I've missed anyone, have I? Excellent. Okay, no, all good. So yeah, once again, thank you so much to all of our speakers and participants for all of your heartfelt contributions. And I really hope we will continue these conversations beyond today. Brian, did you want to add anything at all, just to close? If you want to unmute yourself, sorry. Can't you?
Thank you very much. Well, I think that was an absolute treat. I think we can all agree that it was immensely interesting. It's an immensely interesting session, and very, very enjoyable. I feel that we now know a lot more about each other from you, intelligent young people, and your faiths. I thank you all. Very, very well done. You are a credit to your communities. It bodes very well, I think, for the future. I'd also like to thank the team. Temi, our chair, Janine, our coordinator, Shalata, and all of you who have attended. I think it's been a wonderful, wonderful evening. But I'd also like, right at the end, to say, maybe we can all meet at the Interfaith walk tomorrow morning in Stevenage at 1 p.m. I'll be there. If any of you are there, we can continue this chat, this talk there. Thank you all very much, and good night to you all.
Thank you, everyone. It's an
Thanks,
amazing
everyone.
event. I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
See you all
Good night,
soon.
everyone.
Have a lovely evening. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you.